Hi everybody, thanks for joining me for coffee and card at home. Sorry I'm a little bit late coming on this evening. One of those evenings when we've got lots to get sorted and get everybody in the right place at the right time. But we're here now, so we're going to be making our third card using the Happy Holidays bundle. So this is the stamp set we've been using for the last 3 weeks, 2 weeks. This is the third week, yeah. And we've got one more week next week on this stamp set before we change to a different one. So this is what we're using, and this is the card that we're going to be making this evening. And we've got slightly different colourway. Hi Tracy, thanks for joining. So slightly different colourway, that this one's using garden green, this one's using old olive, so but they work in obviously a very similar way. So I'm going to show you how to make this card. It's fairly quick apart from the colouring. A couple of ladies this morning discovered that they could make it even quicker by just stamping an image that didn't need colouring in, so it could be a really nice quick card. So you're going to need a C6 size old olive or garden green card base, and then I've cut out basic white rectangles using the postage stamp punch, which is quite nice, and that's what's going to have our images on them. So first of all, we're going to get our card base folded and burnished. And then we're going to start stamping our background. So you can see on here I've used the large words Noel just as a background. And I'm using the same colour ink as card, which is tone on tone stamping. So I've got old olive here, so I'm using an old olive ink. And I'm just going to use that Noel stamp to create like a brick effect. You're not going to see all of it on your card, but what I decided to do was stamp Noel right in the very middle to start with, and then I'm going to work my way out from there. So then we're going to go just a little bit further over to that side, and then same on that side. Try and keep them straight if you can. Then on the next row down, we're going to go in between the gaps, so that's where you can see it's kind of like a brick effect. And then same on this side, and then same at the top, so we're going to go in that gap there. So you could do this with any sentiment actually, would work quite well, but the Noel works quite nicely because it's quite big, but actually you could use any of the other greetings in the set as well. And because we've used that as a background, obviously we don't need to use a separate sentiment, so we can focus just on the images. So we're just going to put that to the side. Okay, so I'm going to stamp my images now, and the images I've used are the robin and the holly. So we're going to stamp the robin, so we're just going to take one of our bits of card, and I'm just going to get in as much of the robin as I can, so we sort of get his head and a bit of his body. And then on the other two bits, I'm going to stamp the holly. So I'm going to stamp it that way on that one. Then I'm going to re-ink, and I'm going to turn it so it's a slightly different way on the other one. There we go. So now we're going to do some colouring in. So I'm using blends on these, and I'm using a bit of a mixture of light and dark, and then using some other colours in a similar shade to layer up some different layers of colour. So first of all, I'm using, this is the dark Smoky Slate, and I'm just going to use this on the beak of my bird. And then I'm going to start with the light Cherry Cobbler for the robin's redbreast. And I'm also going to do that on my berries as well, on my holly. And same on this one. I'm going to get all my light colours on first. So I'm going to go with a light, no, correction, dark old olive on my holly leaves. Just because I think I need something a bit darker than the light old olive. Because holly leaves are usually quite dark colours. So I'm just getting the basic colour on those. I'm using the thin end of my blends just because I prefer colouring with that end personally, but it's entirely up to you. And of course, if you haven't got any blends, then you may well decide to use some different colouring tools. Just try and get that colour on as quick as I can. I feel a bit like this is running out. There we go. And then I'm going to use the dark Crumb cake as well to colour in my bird. So I'm getting all of my lighter shades on first. You don't of course have to do it that way round, but I quite like to build up my colour afterwards. So I'm going to get my dark Cherry Cobbler now, and the nice thing about the stamp set is it puts in these lines to show you sort of where shading would be, so it's quite nice to be able to sort of use those a little bit to help you with getting some colour on. You can see at the moment it's standing out quite a lot, so I'm going to go back with my lighter one in a minute to blend it in a little bit more. And then I'm doing the same on my berries, that they too have got sort of like a shaded area on them. It kind of gives you a bit of an indication of where you should be putting the colour, which is nice. So I'm just going to get my lighter shade again, just add a little bit more colour on there. It just helps to blend the colours together just a little bit more, so it's slightly more subtle colouring, and especially on on the bird here. The nice thing about blends is just layering up the colour allows you to just sometimes blend the colours a bit better. And then we're going to do the same with our feathers on our bird. I'm just going to take a darker brown and put some colour on these feathers on the wing. And again on these sort of shaded areas. But it's a little bit too obvious, so I'm going to go back with a lighter shade. And actually this one is my light crumb cake, but it might just give me a slightly more subtle change of colour rather than going in with the dark. So it's worth playing around sometimes and seeing sort of what you prefer, really. And actually, now I've done that, I think I want to go back in with my darker shade. So the good thing with the blends is you can just keep going over till you're happy with it. There we go. So I'm happy with my robin. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to get my dark Mossy Meadow now, just to put in some of these slightly darker bits on the holly leaves now. And again, you can see that I'm going to need to do a little bit more blending by going back to the first kind of lighter shade that I used, just to make the blending a little bit more subtle. So you really can take your time with this and spend a lot of time working on it. Just depends how much time you've got, really. Obviously I'm being kind of as quick as I can because I'm videoing it, but you could take much more time yourself if you wanted to. There we go, so I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we are going to mount those onto the front of our card using dimensionals. So I'm going to put my robin in the middle, and I'm just going to use a couple of dimensionals on there. I'm going to try and go for getting that in the middle as much as possible, and obviously also try and see if you can use your grid lines just to help you to get it straight. Then we're going to pop on our holly, so one on each side. And try and see if you can sort of space them equally across, so you've got kind of equal distance either side. Same on this one, try and see if you can space it equally and line it up if you can as well. And then the only bit just to do next is to do our bow. So we're using the ruched ribbon, which is quite pretty. I'm just going to make a couple of bunny ears and tie that in a knot. And I'm going to hold my knot so that I can pull the ribbon just to even up my bows. Until you're happy with the size really of each kind of loop. And when you're happy with the size of that, you can just trim that off at the end. So I'm going to trim that one a little. And then I'm just going to use a glue dot to stick that on. Now on my other ones I went with sticking them at the side. One I had stuck at the top, one I tried at the bottom. You could go over the other side, it's entirely up to you. Whatever you think looks best. This time I think I'm going to go with sticking it at the top. Obviously you can just fiddle around with it a little bit till you're happy and trim off any bits that you think might look a bit long. And I think that's it. Oh no, one last little thing that I am going to do is I'm just going to put a little bit of Wink of Stella on my berries. Just make them look a bit shiny. And a little bit of Wink of Stella on the eye of my bird, just to make him look like he's got a bit of a shiny, shimmery eye. There we go. So if I bring back the others, you'll be able to see the slight differences in colouring and placement of bows and all that kind of thing. But you could do that in quite a lot of different versions with different images, different words on the background, bows or not bows, or you could come up with all sorts of different combinations. So just to quickly recap on what we've used, the stamp set we've used is Happy Holidays. Oh, thank you, Tracy. I'm glad you like the robin. I do too. It's a really nice set, this one. And we have used either Garden Green or Old Olive as our card base. We've used basic white cutout with the Postage Stamp punch. And then we have used for inks, we've used the same colour of ink that we used for the card base, and then just black ink so that we can then colour in our images with the blends or any other colouring tool you like really, and then just the ruched ribbon red bows to put on just to finish it off. So that is week 3's card. Next week is week 4. Unfortunately, because it's half term, I'm not going to be around next Monday. We're going away for a few days. So what I will do is I will upload a pre-recorded video of week 4. It will be able to be accessed from my Facebook page, and also it will be on my YouTube channel, so you won't miss out on week 4. It's just it won't be a live recording, it will be pre-recorded. And then the following week we will be starting on our next bundle, which is going to be the Pine Tree Punch with the Perfectly Plaid stamp set. So we'll be using that one for a whole month, and I'm taking bookings for that one now. So if you want to have a go at Coffee and Card next month, then if you let me know by Wednesday, then you can order that set and the kit, or whatever combination of kit and other bits to go with it you'd like to use. Anyway, thanks for joining me this week, and I'll see you on a live in a fortnight. Have a good half term as well, and I'll see you then. Take care. Bye.